I request our moderator, Mr. George Varghese, an independent strategic advisor, to initiate the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Diksha. The session is already starting a little late, but welcome to all of you to this session on the circular economy. I'm not going to take too much of time in introducing because most of the people sitting here are already the converted. I just want to give you a small perspective and the context from where we come. At this point of time, global economy, we are already consuming more than 70% of the global resources of what can be replenished in the world. Given that, with this kind of resource consumption and also at the same time the energy intensity of this kind of consumption, it also leads to greenhouse gas emissions at the other end, its climate change implications. So you see the two ends of it. One is in terms of overconsumption of resources. Number two, it's the implication of greenhouse gases, gas emissions and its climate change implications. Given that, it's fairly clear that the world has to go on into a path that is much more resource efficient and an economy that is circular. I don't think we're going to discuss the problem here today. Most of us know what this is, and over the last 20 years, we've been grappling with it. What we are going to do in this session on circular economy today is three speakers from three varied industries, and very interesting to observe. With Olivier Lodge from ExxonMobil sitting at that end. What they have is some base polymer material. And he's going to tell you how they are incorporating recycling and circular economy technique. At the other end, we have Rahul, who is from Huhtamaki. They are actually using their base materials into putting products that are recyclable. So you see the circular economy on the stage, plastics. And my third speaker is even more interesting. He says no to plastics. She's been using agro waste. She's the founder of a company called EcoWare. I've had the opportunity of seeing some of her very excellent products. So she's using agro waste to produce products that are used for packaging and cutlery in the industry. So, three examples, let's listen to them. And then after that, we'll give you a chance for Q&A. With this, I would give you a very short introduction of Olivier. He's a chemical engineer. When I read it, we've worked in virtually all your plants in Europe, in their headquarters in Houston, Texas, and also worked in the Asia Pacific region where Singapore is their headquarters. So he's spanned the complete ExxonMobil operations across the globe. So that's the kind of experience sitting here. But today he's going to focus on the plastics and the recycling. That's all good.
Hello. So I don't know if you see the presentation, but my name is Olivier Lorge, and I'm the Global Marketing Manager for our polypropylene business across the world. And today I'm super excited to be here with all of you to speak about sustainability and to discuss about our plan for the future. So let me just quickly introduce ExxonMobil. We are oil company specialized in oil, gas, refining, and chemical. We have 66,000 people around the world, and our strength is maybe more insight we get from all of them. We have 40 years. We spent 40 years in India. We started in 1986 in Bengaluru, and now we have more than 2,000 employees across India. So we have a lot of knowledge as well about the India industry, especially on the plastic and lube side. Okay, good. So I don't know how it's working. Okay, it was the ExxonMobil piece. Okay, now let's speak about sustainability. You can get it. Sorry, technology. Okay, so let's.
Okay, now you can move it from here.
Yeah, okay, good. So let's speak about.
You can see it from
Yeah, perfect. Let's speak about sustainability. And a couple of years ago, we spoke with most of our customers, brand owners, suppliers, OEM, to really understand what sustainability means for them and what everybody tried to achieve. And it's amazing how many answers we had. It was all over the place. But at the end, if you think about it, it drills down to plastic to two main challenges. The first one is how to help to address the plastic waste. And the second one is how we decarbonize our industry. And some people like us want to do both of them. How we solve the first issue and solve the second issue in the same time. So based on these two challenges, we have developed a plan to help to address the two challenges. And this is what we are planning to do, and I hope it will be an insight, but I truly believe that the first action is to really look at yourself. And the first step toward a more sustainable and circular world is to achieve net zero in your operation. And ExxonMobil has committed to become net zero emission by 2050. It looks long, but for a big company like us, it's already a big commitment and achievement. So the first step will be to use hydrogen to use as a primary energy in our Texas Baytown complex for our refinery. It's the first step towards zero emission for us. So the plan is to use natural gas to produce hydrogen, and with the CO2 left, put it back and do sequestration. Okay, it's difficult to say. Carbon capture in all the oil field for us. So first step for us, reducing our impact from our operation. Second commitment we have for the industry is to continue to develop high-tech polymers to allow do more with less. It's a concept that we are pushing for the last 20 years, but when you think about something you don't use, you don't emit, and you don't have to recycle it. And I think it's something we need to make sure we don't forget. Just as an example, 20 years ago, for resin, plastic resin, we used bags which were 220 micrometer thick. Now we are at 105, 110 micrometer. So it's half the weight of waste just for this bag. And if all the industry using more sophisticated polymers, more high-tech solution, we could significantly, just by doing that, reducing the quantity of plastic waste and the quantity of CO2 emission for our industry. So this is our second commitment. Our third commitment is how we can deploy and scalable recycled solution. And I will not speak now about it, because I've got a couple of pages about it, but it's something where we put a lot of energy and brainstorming in the company. And the third one is what I've learned my 10 years in marketing and sales is that you cannot do anything alone. And you have to engage all the value chain if you really want to achieve something. And working from the collector on the field for recyclability to the policy maker, you have to engage all the value chain, because if one piece is missing, then nothing is working. So let's give it a couple of minutes to go and develop the scalable solution for recycling. So we started to push mechanical recycling really 5-6 years ago with some of our high-tech polymers. And the first project I worked on was in Patagonia with an entrepreneur who wanted to collect fishing gears and fishing hooks to do something with it. And working with them, we could collect on the beach all these ropes, invest in a cleaning machine, shredding, injection molding machine, and with our knowledge about polymers, we could make crates out of it, high quality crates out of it. And for me, I learned a lot from this experience, that yes, mechanical recycling is our first priority. We need to do it because it consumes less energy, it's more efficient. But it requires a lot of resources, investment, and it takes time. So from this knowledge, he said, okay, a lot of plastic used around the world. What can we do to scale up and accelerate the recyclability of all these polymers? And it's where we come with this extended technology for very difficult plastic to be recycled. And the idea here is you take your polymer, you put it in our refinery, you break it down in monomer blocks that you will use later on to do something with new products, like polyethylene, polypropylene again. And by using this extend technology, I believe we can significantly ramp up the production of recycling material. So our commitment in Exxon is to scale up this technology in the next 4 years up to 500 KT. In 2021, we started our first 30,000 ton plant in Baytown, Texas. And now we are lining up new modules in the different refinery we have in the US Gulf Coast, in Europe, in France, and in Netherlands and in UK. And the plan for us to do it in Singapore as well before the end of 2026, maybe 2025, 2026. So it's a technology that we encourage others to do as well. And we truly believe it's a way to really give value to the waste. One of our challenge is incentivizing entrepreneurs that will go and collect the feedstock, which is waste stream, municipalities which will invest in sorting capability in order to extract the plastic from the feed. And we started some experiment with the town of Houston with our waste management system to invest in new machinery that can sort automatically all the plastic from their waste stream. So big goal compared to the size of the polymer business is still small, but still a big goal. So I want to introduce a concept here, which is the mass balance. The best analogy for me is electrical grid. When someone started to plug a solar panel on the electrical grid, the person who are buying this green energy are not using the electron that were produced by the solar panel, because it may be far away from the solar panel. But overall, as a mass balance concept, the idea was, okay, the solar panel is introduced X number of electrons, you can use elsewhere X number of electrons. We are as well using the same concept for advanced recycling. The quantity of waste we are putting in our refinery, and I said this, maybe it's 1 million tons across 7 or 8 refineries, is very small compared to the size of a true refinery, which is 10 million tons, 15 million tons a year. So we are using the mass balance concept by putting the plastic waste, breaking down the waste into the building block, and then this building block will be somewhere lost into the refinery to claim credit, and we will produce a polyethylene and polypropylene. So it's a concept that if you put X number of waste into your refinery, you will not utilize number of oil to produce your polyethylene or polypropylene plastic. So I think it's a concept which is similar to the electrical grids here. But, and I will conclude on this one, is third party and certification are key. Everything we do is third party certified. We truly believe that we need some discipline. We need to be audited by third party, which has nothing to do with us. We decided to work with ISCC Plus because on the fuel side, on regulation in Europe and US, we are working with a company which is called ISCC as well. And it's a way for us to certify our product. One of the big challenges when you think about recycling industry and corporation in your structure is how you do a good traceability of everything you do. So at time of speaking, it's a very small part of the industry which is doing it. But as soon as law will come online, everything will be mandatory. One of the challenges of the industry will be how we get the true certification to make sure that when you claim that you have 30% of recycling in your product, recycling content in your product, then you really have 30% recycling content of a product. So I would like to thank George, and I hope you will have some questions. Sorry, I was maybe a bit long.
We'll take the questions later on. Thank you, Olivier. And I think you would have observed how ExxonMobil is trying to do the balance between reducing the plastic waste, improving its efficiency, and also decarbonizing their processes. With that, I would like to turn to Rahul Nene, who is the Sustainability Officer at Huhtamaki. He's relatively new in Huhtamaki, but has worked across sectors, FMCG, oil and gas, and he's been a sustainability officer in several of these industries. So this is not the time. Let him speak now, but after that, you can grill him with all the questions because he's worked across sectors in terms of how sustainability is mentioned. Okay, Rahul, almost. Up to you.
So hi, good afternoon everyone, and thank you George for this lovely introduction. I'll jump right into the topic. And when I speak of circular economy, I think the quote actually that goes into my mind immediately is from Albert Einstein. He says, if you have a problem, look deeper into nature and you will understand things better. And when it comes to circular economy, I think that's the sole inspiration that I personally take. Because if you look at nature, I mean, we are talking of sustainability, right? We are talking of sustaining life on this planet. We are talking of sustaining this planet. We are talking of sustaining our own organizations. If something has to sustain on this planet, it has to have a circularity to it. And that's run by the natural cycles of oxygen, phosphorus, carbon, blah, blah, blah. And hence, the context to this topic, circularity when it comes to sustainability is absolutely imperative. And that's why I was very happy to be invited to speak on this topic. Coming to what my organization does, so as George introduced, Huhtamaki is basically a global leader when it comes to flexible packaging. Okay, and packaging as part of the footprint of a product plays a key role when you talk about having the product itself circular, so to say. And in India, you see statistics coming in. The latest one was like India is the largest polluter to marine litter, right? And India is one of the top three producers of plastic waste in the world. So the concept of circular economy should hold a lot of value to us as a country. Now, so my talk or these 5 minutes that are dedicated to me, I would like to approach this topic with the focus on flexible packaging, which is like our product. So we touch flexible packaging every day, right? I mean, there are candies, there is chocolate, there is Maggie that we eat, there is everything that we touch, more or less. 70% of the products in India come from flexible packaging. And the problem in India is we don't have recycling, collection, cleaning, and recycling structures in or infrastructure in place which are economically viable, bring back this material back into the packaging value chain. And that's where I think we are, failing, honestly, as a country. What we generally say, tend to say when it is sustainable, just replace the plastic and it will become sustainable. Honestly, I don't think personally that's the right approach. Plastics have proven beneficial to environment in multiple applications, and even in India there are multiple products. I'll take example of milk. Plastic packaging absolutely seems to be the most sustainable choice of packaging. What is not present is how we can add circularity to it and make it truly sustainable. And I would like to speak a bit about the challenges that we face as a country, right? Recently, this Saturday, there was World Cleanup Day or something, and our company had organized a beach cleanup. And just going to a beach and picking up plastic waste, it makes you realize what the problem is. There are so many types of plastics that you see, and the most notorious, is multi-layered plastic, right? The issue with multi-layered plastic is there are multiple layers of different types of plastic, probably a barrier layer in between of aluminum and paper. It's absolutely very difficult to recycle this kind of plastic. That's the first challenge. Plastic in itself, we are not sure if it can be recycled. Point number two, most of it is spoiled. To the consumer, you use it. Imagine your of chips, you open it, there's a lot of material oil and chips stuck to it, and you throw it. It's spoiled. It goes into a beach, it's spoiled even by the soil, etc., etc. So the major recycling infrastructure in our country is mechanical recycling, and some of the shortcomings of mechanical recycling is it cannot take spoiled raw material to recycle. But the situation is that our plastic waste is largely spoiled. So that adds a bit of challenge again to the entire value chain of having a circular economy. Point number three, the consumer awareness around segregation, right? Obviously, it's so in the last 5 years, it has increased a lot, but we still don't have sufficient segregation mechanisms at source where the spoiled, we can ensure that this packaging does not get spoiled after the usage by the consumer. Last but not the least, the logistics from the consumer to the recycling plant, and then from the recycling plant to the product manufacturers, this logistics is economically not feasible. And you can see all of these challenges exist in the country, and that's why there's a big bit of issues in terms of ensuring circularity when it comes to packaging, so to say, in India. Just as a company who manufactures and produces flexible packaging, just like to touch base what we are trying to do as one of the key stakeholders in this value chain to do our bit to ensure that the circular economy materializes somewhere along the line. So first of all, the challenge that I said, right? The product in itself probably is not recyclable, or not recyclable is not the right term, difficult to recycle. And multi-layer plastics is something that's the biggest challenge that we have. So most of our R&D efforts are going into shifting from a multi-layer packaging to a mono-layer packaging. And that's where working with someone like ExxonMobil also comes in, because we use their products as our raw materials, and we have to work with companies like this to kind of develop these packaging solutions which are mono-material based. Yeah, so the multi-layer packaging, the multiple layers are there for a reason, right? Imagine hair color, it's a very aggressive material. Imagine food, it cannot get spoiled. So you have to have oxygen protection, you need to have barrier against humidity. Achieving that through mono-material is truly difficult, honestly. And that's where most of our innovation efforts are. And our target is like by the year 2030, we want to make all our packaging products which are 100% recyclable or at least reusable, We also have a fiber-based packaging solutions, not in India per se, but outside. So we say they should be 100% renewable. That's the key focus where we are working on. The other aspect is when to close the loop, right? Once the plastic gets recycled, we need to ensure that the recycled plastic also becomes successfully a part of our own raw material. And that's the other bit where we are working as a company to ensure that the recycled plastic successfully is a raw material to us and we are able to make packaging out of the recycled plastic. Of course, we have to work with companies, brand owners here because they are the ones who design the packaging, and we have to work with them to ensure that recycled plastic successfully becomes a part. Right now, if you see food packaging, there is a clash of regulations because we are under EPR pushing for recycled content, but the FSSAI rules does not allow recycled content in food packaging. So we are working with regulators to, and I'm part of that committee where we are working to kind of streamline these regulations. So the regulatory bodies and the plastic waste management rules actually need to support this entire structure, and I think we are moving in the right direction as a country. But that's another challenge where successfully integrating recycled plastics as part of the value chain. So these are, I would say, our key focus areas when it comes to circular economy and enabling circular economy. The third bit that we are trying to do is, I was talking of multi-layer plastics, right? So we have established something called as a Huhtamaki Foundation, where we have set up a kind of a pilot plant in Maharashtra. We are trying to prove multi-layer plastic can be recycled. The only thing is you need to have good amount of control on the washing of the waste material that comes in, and then the temperature control, because in terms of extrusion, when you finally extrude the material, to get those recyclates out of it, you need to have a good amount of control. So that's what we are also working on to kind of, and then we look at intent to scale this up in India so that, because if you see the EPR rules, right? I mean, if you see the amount of brand owners that are registered today on the EPR total, and you calculate the total amount of plastic waste they have declared, and you calculate and you add the total amount of recycling infrastructure that is available, correspondingly, there's a huge gap. So we don't have recycling infrastructure also to cater to the amount of plastic that has been declared. So in order to do our bit also, we are trying to help set up this recycling infrastructure in India, and especially we are targeting multi-layer plastic, something which is kind of avoided by the recyclers in India because they don't bring so much value as does pure plastic waste. So that's what I wanted to basically touch base upon. Ultimately, just to conclude, I think multiple stakeholders in this entire value chain, right? When we talk of circular economy, and all of us need to come together. Right from consumerism, we will provide the raw materials, us as packaging developers, brand owners, the consumers, and there's a huge amount of informal sector who is collecting, segregating waste, and who unfortunately are not many times ignored, because the people who actually collect our waste from the grounds, majority of it is the dumping grounds or landfills, they are not aware where to take this waste. I mean, it's all waste for them, but apart from few examples like milk or water bottles, they don't care what the number mentioned means. They just take it to some recyclers. If we can touch base with them, the segregation can successfully happen at their end. I think that would be a very highly beneficial point. So that's one thought I had about the EPR rules, because we are talking of giving the responsibility to brand owners to recycle. Something needs to be done to kind of uplift the people who are actually collecting and segregating this waste. That would also add a lot of value to circular economy of packaging in India. So I think with that we'll just conclude, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rahul. Check. Yep. Thank you, Rahul. I think Rahul gave us a quick snapshot in terms of what are the challenges, and also as a company, what we are trying to do in terms of addressing these challenges of recycling plastic. I would like to emphasize one point. Rahul mentioned about all of us, every single person sitting in this room is a consumer. Rahul mentioned about segregation at source. If we as consumers can segregate at source, then what happens is the waste is no more soiled, and the whole recycling process becomes much easier. And I think that's the message that we ourselves need to practice and spread as much as possible, because then these companies find it easier to do their duty and their responsibility to society as a whole. Thanks, Rahul, for that intervention. Now, I'd like to call upon our third speaker, Ms. Ria Singhal. Ria is the founder and CEO of this company called EcoWare, which I mentioned earlier. She's a pharmacologist who got into this. that I learned only today, even though I've met her before. And highly awarded. She's got the Nari Shakti Award from the President of India, and also is a young leader with the World Economic Forum and several other awards, not going to list them out. And also has been a guest speaker and a thought leader in the sustainability and climate change arena. We are all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. George, it's great to be on the panel with you once again. So I suppose I'm the black sheep here who's going to say, I don't like plastic. Look, like George said, by way of background, I'm a pharmacologist. And I think for me, lifestyle changes and sort of reducing exposure to plastic came about for me when I was about 19 years old, when my mother had breast cancer for the first time. And I then went on to work at, I studied pharmacology, worked at Pfizer specifically on oncology, and that sort of just deepened my knowledge about how we really need to reduce our exposure to plastic because it's not good for people or planet. Worked for Pfizer, everyone knows them, so no need to go there. But I moved to India in 2009, and I was honestly just shocked to see how we were so freely eating out of plastic, yet we were talking about healthy ingredients and organic ingredients and healthy food, but the packaging wasn't healthy at all. And also the fact that we threw all our waste in one dustbin. So we weren't segregating our waste. It ended up in ever-growing landfills. And I decided that I wanted to try and do something different, which is when EcoWare came about. There are three key things for me when I started. So safety, I wanted to make sure that our product allowed for humanity to eat safely, so there was no food migration. And it did not end up in overgrowing landfills and outlive you in generations to come. The second was purpose, so we had to create employment, we had to create impact in everything that we did. And continue to do. And the third was authenticity. So I know we all know that there's an immense amount of greenwash out there, and we wanted to make sure that we're absolutely different, and we're the real deal. And like Olivier said, we've basically certified every claim that we've made on our product, from CIPET to the USDA to Green Label, Singapore Green Label. And we wanted to make sure that we had multi-stakeholder confidence and build credibility as a brand. So what do we do at EcoWare? We take agricultural waste, such as wheat, rice, and sugarcane, and through a thermoforming process, we convert it into packaging. That packaging is completely natural. It's biodegradable and compostable within a 90-day period. What does that mean for all of us? Is that once it comes in contact with soil, it will naturally break down into soil. It bypasses the waste management, the industrial composting facilities, all that sort of stuff that we just do not have in India, and honestly, most of the Southeast Asian countries as well. So that's what we do. Our category of products are split in. We've focused on food and beverage predominantly because we found that that was low-hanging fruit. So our category of products are like typically dine-in, so you would find it at food courts, on the airplanes, on the trains, large-scale office canteens. We've worked with the likes of IRCTC, Etihad Airlines, Haldirams, zero-waste events. So anywhere where you've got basically a massive footfall of people and you need to feed them and not create waste. My motivation is our impact. So 100% of our revenues derive from a circular economy model. We've displaced over 1 billion pieces of single-use plastic. We create an industry that never existed before. We've created employment. 30% of our women our team are women, and especially in the manufacturing space, and that's something I'm really proud of. And from a health perspective, it's really simple. The less you're exposed to plastic, the better it is for you. And ultimately, what we see and what COVID certainly has brought about is everyone now equates single use to hygiene, right? Because we're all scared of this cross infection. We're all using a lot of more of single use. And we just really, our message in our advocacy is that if you need, can we be conscious of what we're using? Can we move away from rampant consumerism to conscious consumerism? Can we make sure that whatever we are touching, using, are closed loop solutions, right? We're clear about what that end of life of the product looks like. So now, as we see sort of plastic bans coming across the world, as an organization, we are moving away. We're not moving away. We're sort of innovating with other industries. So whether it's FMCG, whether it's the medical industry, whether it's e-commerce, to help them all reduce their plastic footprint. And we're basically finding more and more applications from this for the same raw material. And I think really short and sweet, circular economy needs to be seen as an opportunity, not an afterthought. And it needs to be at the core of our decision making. So thank you.
That was very short and sweet. And I think with that, Riya has opened out the debate. There were two companies, one its material of plastics and polymers, the other one packaging in terms of plastics. And I made it a point to emphasize that there are certain areas where you can use plastics. Whereas Riya was saying, I came into this because I saw the after effects of plastic and I wanted to see that there are options available. So options are available, different kinds of materials can be used. What's there that is possible in a resource efficient circular economy? The floor is open. You can ask your questions directly to a single speaker or leave it open-ended, and then we'll make the choice of what they want to answer. Please. Yes, is there somebody passing out mics around, please? The young gentleman out there. Just introduce yourself, one line.
Hi, myself Nitin. So my question to Rahul. So as you know, and you already mentioned in your speech, ki, in last year in plastic waste management tool, government gives some target for recycling content, for reuse application, for MLP recycling. And you had already said you will start working for recycling content. So my two question, as you already work in FMCG and second you are working in packaging industry. So you are more aware with the what is the relation between consumer brand demand and packaging supplier. So what is your current scenario for recycling content? Are your company started the production and what is your capacity? And second, my one question to all circle query panelists, ki everyone is saying in ki use the recycling content. Really, have you checked the what is the carbon footprint of recycling content? Simple virgin plastic carbon footprint may be 100 metric ton, but the recycling content plastic carbon footprint may be more than the virgin plastic. But why Indian government and the recycler don't think have you really checked the LCA? Have you done the LCA? What is the real footprint? So my question for that.
Yeah, thank you. We'll just take two more questions because the next panel has to start. We're going 5 minutes delayed. Yes, sir. The mic at this end, please.
Hi, I'm Aditya. I'm from this organization called Practical Action for Circular Economy, and I'm from Canada. So I just wanted to ask a quick question while listening to you guys. Is it more that the industry needs to be given subsidies so that they tackle the design problem? Because, you know, while designing the products that, you know, circular economy is more of a design problem so that there isn't any waste and, you know, you extend the useful economic life and all of that shebang? Or is it more about raising awareness on a consumer level or a customer level so that they know that they should dispose of the products properly, and why circular economy is not only good for the consumers from like a health or a mindfulness perspective, but also overall, you decouple economic growth to the mining of direct earth resources, and overall it's also good for the economy. So I just wanted to know whether you should be targeting people who've already made legacy investments, capex, huge capex investments, or should you be targeting more in terms of the end user? Thanks.
Thank you. One last question. Yeah, the person right at the end. Right at the end there. Who?
Hello. Yeah, hi. Myself Ranjit Sahu from Accenture. So thank you for accepting the offer from a backbencher. So my question is on, with Rahul, that, regarding that sustainable packaging that you are talking about. Now, every industry, has their own packaging standards depending on the nature of products. Like, for example, if I belong to a metal sector, then there is ASTM standards for packaging and all, right? Now, if I want to look at from a lenses of sustainable packaging, can we look at avenues of standardization of across products, irrespective of whatever industry? And what is the way forward for that?
Thank you. What I'm going to do is I'll start with you, Rahul. Answer the questions and your last comments. Yeah.
Thank you. So first I'll address the first question that was to me regarding EPR. So like you rightly said, there have been multiple targets that have been given to brand owners to include recycled content into their packaging. And I think it starts from the year 2025. And the answer is a resounding yes, because there's a massive work that is happening with earlier I was one of the customers who was working with companies to ensure this. And now I'm in a company which is helping brand owners to do that. In fact, my first week of joining Huhtamaki, I attended meetings with one of the major FMCG companies in India to start working on recycled content as part of their confectionery business packaging. So yes, there's a lot of work that is going on. Like I said, still we are looking at achieving clarity on when it comes to food packaging, because there's a clash with the FSSAI regulations, and we are trying to work on that with the regulatory bodies. But yes, the work is going on. The second question was from the gentleman from Accenture. I absolutely agree. In fact, Huhtamaki and many other companies are part of something called as the India Plastics Pact. Coincidentally, there's a conference that's going on for the Indian Plastics Pact in parallel in the next room, and I was there before in this morning. So one of the key activities that we're doing is defining what sustainable packaging means, with giving due diligence on the infrastructure that is available in India. So what does sustainable packaging mean in India? And that's the work that is going on with regulatory bodies. That's point number one. Point number two, I absolutely agree that standardization will be critical when it comes to defining this. And I again go back to the example I spoke of milk, because even the person who is not educated but picks up milk packets from the waste knows that it is LDPE. They know where to go and give that particular plastic and where they are going to get money. And this is possible because massively most of the milk packaging in India is LDPE. So definitely standardization will be a critical part of it. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Rahul.
Okay, so I think just for the first and third question, look, I think we've all highlighted challenges. Waste management is a huge problem. So for me, my message would be, can we just be conscious about what we're using? Let's move away from, like I said, that rampant consumerism to conscious consumerism and think twice, right? Whether it is plastic, it is a product like EcoWare, it's anything. As far as the second question was concerned, I think there are two ways I look at this. One, as a brand, I think whether you are a shareholder, CEO, whatever you are in the organization, sustainability and circular economy needs to be seen as an opportunity. I would not wait. Yes, incentives are fantastic and it certainly helps you scale what you're trying to do. But if I would still start somewhere. And that's exactly what we did at EcoWare. We've not had any incentives, but we've just kept going. The second thing is that we're seeing that the consumer is changing, okay? It's the Greta Thunbergs, it's my kids, it's your kids. Are you ready to sell to that new generation? They're very well aware, they're connected, and they are aligning their purchasing power to more responsible brands. So I would say get out and do what you need to.
Thanks for that message, Ria. I don't think we should wait for anybody. Only the audience.
Okay, so maybe for sake of time, I like question, what is sustainable packaging? Sustainable packaging is something that can be recycled or we can do something out of it. So AI is proposing a solution that is compostable. We are proposing solution that can be recycled and valued in the future. And Raoul spoke about monomaterial solution. The problem of plastic in the past, there was multiple type of plastic, and because you were using different plastic, you could do nothing with it. And now with what Raoul is saying here, as an industry, we try to prepare the ground for future recycling. And by moving to monomaterial, it could be poly-PET. For bottles, it could be polyolefinic material for day-to-day packaging, but being able to separate this packaging easily in the future is the only way for us as an industry to be able to have the end of life for this product and re-inject this valuable product into new product. So maybe a definition for sustainable packaging.
Thank you, Olivier. Okay, with this, we come to the end of this engaging session. So the challenges incorporating resource efficiency and circular economy into the industry. But I think the clear message is all this starts from us, the consumer, before it gets back to the industry. If we can segregate a source and pass it on, these guys can build the technology and do something with it and help planet sustain itself. Thank you, fellow speakers, for this input that